Welcome back to RDA Perth's YouTube channel. I'm Colleen Yates. I'm the CEO of RDA Perth, and today we're going to be talking about peri-urban development and the opportunities that exist within the peri-urban space of trying to find a balance between agricultural production, which exists quite a bit in that area, and the urban front, and how can we actually find a balance between those two things. With RDA Perth, we did undertake a bit of work around peri-urban development and to look at some of the needs that were required, which included taking a look at some of the policy through the WA Planning Commission around rural lands. Also looking at innovation within the peri-urban space in terms of how can we produce food crops with an urban front quite close by, because it can be a little bit of an issue. And also, what are some of those other opportunities that exist for peri-urban development in terms of direct marketing, farmers markets, and a whole range of other things. So today we have Graham McAlpine here, and he's with Perth Natural Resource Management, or Perth NRM, and he is the manager for sustainable farming. So welcome, Graham. How are you today?
Thanks, Colleen. Yeah. Pleased to join you and your viewers. Yeah. Good to talk to you.
Now, Perth NRM, what they've done recently is that they've released their Food Futures program or report. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
We've developed a Food Future program that looks at the capacity of the urban areas within our state and around regional centres to in the way that they contribute, particularly in the food supply chain, to our state needs. And from our point of view, there's an awful lot that goes on in the back rooms of state government departments where decisions are made on land use strategies and water use efficiencies and so on. But quite often there's not a lot of talk that goes on between them. And we're finding that there are some disparities where we think if we engage the community and organisations like yourselves, that we can actually get a conversation going about a multi-stakeholder engagement in decision making, which looks at all of the scenarios and brings together the wealth of wisdom that are within those groups and bodies that we work with. So we think there's a good opportunity for there to be a review and revisit of the capability of our own food production systems and their interface in peri-urban areas with our traditional regional production areas and in meeting the state's food security.
That sounds absolutely fantastic. I do know that when we had undertaken our work, we were quite surprised at how much production actually takes place in the peri-urban space. So what were some of your findings?
Well, out of interest, our base work is working with, in the sustainable agriculture programs, is working with horticulture producers, peak industry bodies and their marketing groups on more sustainable production, if you like, and much of it is in close proximity to the regional centres. And in that we found that there were some efficiencies that could be had in the way they were producing their food products or their service products that would optimise their delivery systems and the capabilities of the region and bring value to regional communities and the peri-urban areas. It's been a journey that's almost allowed us to see what's going on in real terms, and for us to be able to then look at ways of bringing those energies together and looking at a more collective view of how we might work together to achieve better outcomes, more secure outcomes, more viable business models, and greater capacity within the production groups.
So what has the response been from government? Has it been very supportive?
Well, we delivered the Planning Food Future Forum, you've got to be careful how you say that, in November, where we drew on the experiences of a group out of the University of Melbourne, which is overseen by Dr. Rachel Carey, which looked at, it was called the Melbourne Food Footprint. And what it looked at was, so what's the capability of the regions around Melbourne to supply the food that Victorians need? And as a research project from an academic background, they didn't know what they were going to find. But what surprised them the most was that by engaging local government in their regional precincts and getting them to get involved with, so who's in your area? What do they produce? How do they fit into the wider community? They were absolutely amazed at what came out of what's produced in a region, just first up in sort of volumes and capacity, but also then local governments realising their footprint, if you like, and capacity to contribute to the greater picture. Now, in their individual circumstances, you ask any shire group and they're bound up by what they can do within their ratepayers' capacities and so on. But if you start getting them to talk together about, collectively, about what they actually mean to the community in terms of food and urban value production, then there's a huge opportunity for them to have all of those energies amplified and develop greater strategies and synergies in their working together. So it's a model that already exists. The Melbourne group drew on some work that's been done in Canada and other places around the world. One of our key contributors, Dr. Peter Batt, works for the United Nations FAO, Food and Agricultural Organisation, and works for the New Urban Agenda, which is an international program looking at sustainable production and sustainable living within urban communities. And we're using that model to draw all of our players together, if you like, to get a better feel for the way we might be able to collectively make some constructive change.
And so has the response through local government been pretty good? Because I understand there's a number of local governments that want to retain that within their areas. For instance, the City of Wanneroo, I think, are very strong in that space.
Yeah, we're working with Dr. Ian Martinez at City of Wanneroo, and he's very, very keen to be able to improve the lot of the City of Wanneroo in their urban agriculture mix, but is also very keen to contribute to a wider picture where greater capacities are probable by working collectively or working together.
And I understand through a lot of work that Perth NRM has done that the Department of, or actually it's not Department of Agriculture, it's Department of Primary Industries and Regional Development are actually very keen on looking at a peri-urban strategy.
Yes.
So, which I think is a fantastic outcome.
Yes. We work with Rod Safstrom within the new sustainability group at DPIRD. And they are very keen to work with us, and they will be developing a WA food capacity strategy that feeds into the multi-stakeholder platform that we're talking about for the overall group. They'll be one of the thematic working groups that fits under the multi-stakeholder platform. We also have done a lot of work with DWER, Department of Water Environment Regulation, and that work is largely around the issues with over-allocation of groundwater in our northern suburbs and in the Gin catchment area. So there's quite a bit of activity going on, and those guys are really quite excited about the engagement because they're a little bit bridled by the rationalising that's gone on within the government departments and the opportunities to work collectively in partnership with other groups to achieve the outcomes that they've been trying to achieve for a long time, which is in better water use, more equitable water use. The same with Deep Herd. They've had big changes as well, and they're looking at this as an opportunity to focus effort as well.
Fantastic. And again, we'll be back in a little bit to continue this conversation with Graham. And don't forget to press that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Thank you.